All right, it's off and running, the NBA Championship Series, and that's where we begin our program today. We start with 1st and 10. I'm Jay Crawford, and Skip Bayless on my left. Jalen Rose is in, finally, to sit across the table from
He's
Skip.
been gunning for me for a month, and here we go.
Exactly. I've been asking for it, now I finally got it.
And just Skip's luck, LeBron not so hot in Game 1.
Jane, maybe that wasn't just my luck. Maybe that was just the way it always goes.
All right, let's start right there. It looked like instead of the San Antonio Spurs, it was the San Antonio Big Three. As expected, they come at you with a lot of pieces. Parker and Ginobili and Duncan combined for 67 points. They scored 85 as a team. So pick one guy. Pick somebody. Who's most responsible for that Spurs victory, Jalen?
It's easy, Skip, to pick one of those big three because why? They're the guys that scored 67 points. But I'm going to take somebody that didn't play 1 minute. I'm going to take Greg Popovich.
All right.
And the reason why I take Greg Popovich is he's the reason all of those guys are in the right place at the right time. Basketball is the ultimate game of chess, not checkers. And Greg Popovich, probably one of the best coaches in the NBA right now and of all time, make sure Tim Duncan is on the left block where he needs to be to play
So you can pop for that. I get it.
He understands how to use Tony Parker to his strength. Maybe he's not a three-point shooter, so we're going to lower the pick and rolls. All of the right moves that needs to happen, bringing Manu Ginobili off the bench. Greg Popovich is the reason.
You know, Jalen, you're just like all the other players and all the other ex-player analysts. Let's go out of our way not to give credit to the most underappreciated superstar in the history of sports. And I'm, of course, talking about Tim No Duncan Duncan, who is the flip side of King James, who is made for and by SportsCenter in this modern age. But Tim Duncan, another ho-hum, subtly brilliant performance. 24 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 blocks, including the signature moment, not only of this game, but of the entire series to me, which came midway first quarter after all the hype about how LeBron had posterized Duncan in the second game of the season. Guess what? Tim Duncan posterizes LeBron. He swats his shot clear out to the three-point line, follows him to the three-point line, and makes sure he misses that three. But are we all buzzing about it this morning? No, I don't hear a word about it because nobody cares about Tim Duncan.
And Tim Duncan, as well as Tony Parker, when they sit at the press conference, the first thing that comes out of those guys' mouth is what? We followed the game plan. And they followed the game plan that was laid down by Greg Popovich. Ask Mike Brown, the Cleveland Cavalier coach. He understands, and every team that is talking about building an NBA franchise, they talk about modeling after the San Antonio Spurs.
I understand.
And Greg Popovich is responsible for it.
I highly respect Pop, and he did get them ready to play, and they were all in the right places. But if you can't start with that guy, Tim Duncan, you can't win that game. He is by far the best player in the game today, and LeBron, again, is not even in my top 10.
Yes, he is. But also, when you talk about winning top 10, we can get to that in a second.
Right.
When you talk about winning championships, yes, the big three for San Antonio, for example, are going to be the guys that are the driving force. But really, it's the role guys that make the difference. A championship team doesn't win with the same 15 guys every time.
Yeah.
They have to pick and choose to sign a Michael Finley, to sign a Brent Barry, whether to let Rasho Nesterovic go, whether to start Elston, whether to start Alberto. Those are all decisions made by Pop.
Okay, but those guys don't look nearly as good if you don't have that 6'11" guy in the middle.
All right, he is the fundamental. The flash in this series is LeBron James, so we do get to see the interesting matchup, fundamental versus flash. LeBron clearly struggled, didn't hit a shot at all in the first half. And when Skip Bayless called me last night during the game, I thought he wanted to rub it in. Instead, he just wanted to borrow a pair of socks.
That is true.
Which was all good. All right, rate LeBron. Give him a grade.
LeBron James, yesterday's effort, 0 for 7, the worst first half in his career.
Ever, yeah.
He will get a D because he didn't get it done.
I'm impressed you went that far.
And you can't pass with a D. So LeBron James will get a D. But you know what? When he played his first 2 games against the Detroit Pistons, we had the same conversation. Yeah. Just rewind the tape. We talked about why LeBron couldn't get it done. So I'm going to start this website called getofflebron.com. Because when he comes around in this series and you have to flip-flop on all of the things that you said, then we got to log on to my website.
He will not come around in this series, but I must say this, Jalen. I am impressed that you went so far as to give him a D. And if I'm judging Prince James, as I call him, by my standards, I would give him a C because I think he's wildly overrated because I think he's still a lousy outside shooter.
So last night...
Hey, wait a second. But I've been forced over the last month to judge him by everybody else's standards because Jalen Rose has been telling me he has arrived. He is the next Michael Jordan. And obviously, under those circumstances, I have to give him a flat-out F because he had more turnovers last night than baskets. For the second straight big game, he does not score his first basket until midway through the third quarter. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. And he misses a big three in the third quarter and a big three in the fourth quarter that could have been momentum builders, could have made it at least interesting. I don't think they could have won the game. And the Spurs, their goal last night was no dunks. What is LeBron? The one thing I always say, he's the best dunker in pro basketball. How many did he have last night? He had 0 dunks because that guy Duncan is waiting for him at the rim as opposed to the Pistons waiting for him at the rim.
The reason why he's waiting for him at the rim because those guys understand being the San Antonio Spurs, the best defensive team in our game.
They are?
That they want to make somebody else beat them. LeBron James is going to get his numbers. The numbers that you saw last night are not indicative of how LeBron James is going to play this series. He's going to get going. Now, whether the Cleveland Cavaliers have a chance to win is going to be up to the role players if they're able to step up.
Well, let's talk about
wait a second.
Okay, go ahead. Make your point.
Do you think LeBron James is a consistent outside shooter?
I think LeBron James is a rhythm shooter. He's not a Larry Bird, stand at the three-point line, catch and knock down three-point shots. No, he's a rhythm shooter. He's a guy, once he knocks down a couple of shots, he gets confident. Tony Parker's not a great three-point shooter, but
he's better than LeBron.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
Tony Parker is not a three-point shooter at all. He's a medium-range shooter that finishes at the basket. Tim Duncan, every player has flaws in this game. Tim Duncan is not a great free throw shooter, but we mask that because he finds ways to play to his strength, not his weakness, and LeBron James will grow into that. As a 22-year-old, he's not in his prime yet. He's going to grow into his game.
Now I can't win this because if he goes wrong, then he's 22 and he has no supporting cast.
He's not making that up. He is 22.
He's played 4 years in this league, and he has the body of a 30-year-old, and I think he might be 30 years old.
And with the NBA draft coming up, let's talk about this. Let's talk about LeBron James going #1. Let's talk about Tim Duncan going #1. 4 years later, LeBron James has a Cleveland Cavaliers team that's never been to the NBA Finals, playing in the NBA Finals. We don't care about the Cleveland Cavaliers without LeBron James. Now they're relevant.
All right, let's talk about.
So weak. Go ahead.
Let's talk about whether or not Cleveland can make this a series. Can they?
Yes, they can make this a series. And the reason why I say that because they do have LeBron James and they will make adjustments. And the San Antonio Spurs, as great of a defensive team as they are, they're not a high-scoring team. And when you sometimes play those 85-point games and you have a guy like LeBron that can get 30, 35, the Cleveland Cavaliers will be in the game. Last night's game should have been a 20-point deficit. Cleveland Cavaliers found a way to play great in the fourth quarter.
Time out. As in, make it a series, as in Cleveland could win the series?
Making it a series means it goes 6 or 7. It's not going to be a sweep, and I don't think it's going to happen in 5. I think it'll probably go in 6 or 7, but I do think the San Antonio Spurs will find a way to get it done.
Okay, I'm going to stand by my pre-series prediction, which was San Antonio in 6.
That's a series.
Okay, but I still say the Spurs will not break a sweat. They didn't break one last night. I still say Prince James' supporting cast is as underrated as he is overrated. And it was proven again last night. I think Daniel Gibson should start for Larry Hughes because he can shoot and he is not afraid. I'm starting to call him King Daniel because I think he's the real king. He makes 7 out of 9 shots. And I think that Sasha and Varejao and Gooden, they all played I thought they played big last night.
You ask Daniel Gibson who's the king of that team, and he'll tell you it's LeBron James because he makes his job easier. And let me tell you why.
Publicly or privately?
No,
ask him privately.
On the basketball court, let me tell you why. Being a point guard, as Daniel Gibson is, he doesn't have to run the team. You know why? Because LeBron James initiates the offense. Also, let's talk about defensively. With Larry Hughes hobbled, with Gibson coming off the bench, who has the job of checking Tony Parker? That's LeBron James. I would like to see LeBron checking Bruce Bowen so he can rest on defense and he can save all his energy for offense.
Well, he always rests on defense because until lately he hadn't played any defense.
He played pretty good defense on Tayshaun Prince, a guy who I saw go against Luau Deng, and we talked about how Tayshaun Prince is really coming into his own, and he will probably be in.
And he struggled. He struggled against.
Yeah, but Tayshaun spent himself on defense in that series.
All right, that's it for first down. Ahead in second down, we're going to turn to baseball. A little out of your element, but I think you can hold your own there as well. Curt Schilling almost had a no-hitter yesterday, and David Ortiz was living in the twilight zone for it. We'll debate. Also, you can play along at home. Jump into the fray with Skip and Jalen by emailing us at ESPN First Take at ESPN.com, and we'll read a few throughout the program. Also, while you're online, cast a vote in our Sports Nation poll question. It's absolutely free, and all the kids are doing it. Simple question. Who's the better player right now, Tim Duncan or LeBron James?